Hi, I'm Eric Kelly from KellyPlanet.com. This is a closer look at Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 5, Episode 16, Ethics. This is the first episode in a while that doesn't start off with a captain's log. Instead, we get Geordi and Worf in a cargo bay. They are discussing how Troi beat Worf at their last poker game. She bluffed him with a pair of sixes. Seems to be an awful lot of people in that dark old cargo bay. No, that plastic barrel starts randomly melting and Worf gets clobbered. He wakes up in sickbay, but something's not quite right.
You can't move because one of the containers shattered 7 of your vertebrae and crushed your spinal cord. I'm afraid there's no way we can repair this kind of injury.
I, at one point, had 5 broken vertebrae, which sucked pretty bad, but he has me beat for sure.
Lieutenant Worf has been removed from active duty following a severe injury. Although a neurospecialist has arrived, Dr. Crusher believes his paralysis may be permanent.
That's Dr. Toby Russell, and this is the only time we see her. So they are talking, and we find out that Klingons don't have a lot of medical data for their spinal injuries because they usually just let the patient die. Riker stops by to check on Worf, and they need to talk. Worf informs him that the doc is pretty sure his paralysis is permanent.
I have a personal favor to ask.
Name it.
I want you to assist me in performing the Heckbah ceremony. I want you to help me die.
What?
In Klingon culture, when a warrior can no longer stand to face his enemies, it's time to kill yourself. And Riker's like, yeah, there's got to be other options here. Worf says, nope, my life as a Klingon is over. But Riker says, well, I'm not going to help you. Worf tells him that he wants to end his life as he lived with dignity and honor, so please help me. The docs are talking about the Brocholol, which refers to the fact that Klingons have many redundant biological systems, making it hard to kill them. That machine there is a 3D printer that makes organs, and it can even make Worf a whole new spinal column. That's pretty handy, but it's untested.
I've done dozens of holo simulations. The success rate is up to 37%. Even a holographic patient would balk at those odds. Sooner or later, it has to be tried on a living patient.
Bev's like, yeah, this is pretty cool, but we don't know nearly enough about Klingons to even try it. Picard calls her to the bridge because the transport ship Denver hit an old Cardassian mine and is crash landing somewhere, and there are over 500 people aboard. So they're going to have to convert the shuttle bays to triage centers, and I guess this whole episode is going to be about medical stuff. Yay.
I have always tried to keep an open mind, but for me to be part of this ceremony...
I understand that Worf will never regain the use of his legs.
That doesn't mean that his life is over.
That's a very human perspective, Will.
This whole scene is Picard trying to convince Riker of Worf's point of view, and that's pretty interesting because when this situation comes up on Deep Space Nine for Worf, Odo gets involved and Sisko yelled at him, and the Heckbot was not allowed. Both episodes are written by Ron Moore, though, so okay.
Look, I'm sorry. I cannot help you to make this decision. But I can tell you this. Klingons choose their friends with great care. If he didn't know he could count on you, he would never have asked.
Oh, yay, there's Alexander. I forgot he's living on the ship now. He's all upset because he can't see his dad, and Troi tells him that Worf is the one that won't see him because of his condition.
He's been injured, and he's embarrassed.
This is part of that Klingon stuff, isn't it? My mother always said Klingons had a lot of dumb ideas about honor.
Alexander, that Klingon stuff is very important to your father.
So Troi goes to Worf to talk about feelings, and the two docs show up. Troy's point is that maybe Worf should worry less about his own honor and more about the well-being of his son. So she leaves, and Bev tells Worf she can't fix him, but they can do these implant things, and he might get 70% of his motor functions back, perhaps. Worf sits up, so he's not quadriplegic. So why is he just laying in sickbay all day long? Anyway, he's not into it.
I will not be seen lurching through corridors like some half-Klingon machine. The object of ridicule and disgust.
I want you to take some time before making a decision. Think about it.
Dr. Russell jumps in and says, well, there's this other thing I've been working on, but I never tested it, and it's super dangerous and probably illegal. Bev's like, yeah, we gotta talk. She says that giving Worf hope is counterproductive and he needs to face his paralysis. Dr. Russell's like, yeah, well, he's gonna kill himself anyways, so why not have him be my guinea pig? If it works, he'll be super happy. Yeah, if it works.
I checked with Starfleet Medical. They have turned down your request to test genitronics on humanoids 3 times already. Are you really going to hide behind the rules of some bureaucracy? Beverly, your patient's life is at stake here.
Before these two go at it, Picard calls down to tell them they are going to start transporting the Denver survivors on board. That guy is dead, and the reason is Dr. Russell tried some new thing she's been working on him. because she says it's better than whatever normal medicine is supposed to work, and Bev's like, well, that normal medicine would have saved his life, so you killed him.
You didn't even try standard treatment. I made the choice I thought gave him the best chance of surviving. Isn't that what you would have done? I think you used this situation in order to test one of your theories, just like you're trying to do with Worf.
Bev is pretty fired up and relieves Dr. Russell of all medical duty aboard the ship. Picard shows up and says, hey, I heard what you did. Maybe you should consider letting her do that thing with Worf. So in this episode, it's Picard's job to interfere with the decisions of his senior staff, convince Riker to kill Worf, while convincing Bev to let him be used for medical experiments. Yeah, that sounds like him.
He is going to have to accept his condition.
Beverly, he can't make the journey you're asking of him. You want him to go from contemplating suicide to accepting his condition and living with a disability, but it's too far.
Okay, so Picard's angle is that maybe Worf will forgo the Heckbot to risk getting his life back. Riker shows up with a ceremonial Klingon stuff and tells Worf that this thing is despicable. He says, I might have to respect your beliefs, but I don't have to like them. Worf says, yeah, I don't expect you to understand. So they talk a whole lot, and Riker says, yeah, I've been reading up on this, and it's not my job. Your son is supposed to be the one to help kill you. Of course, Worf says, Alexander is a child, and he's not even full Klingon.
What you really mean is it would be too hard to look at your son and tell him to bring you the knife. Watch you stab it into your heart. Then pull the knife out of your chest and wipe your blood on his sleeve.
Hey, there's Alexander, but he's not there to kill Worf. His dad informs him that he's decided to break with Klingon tradition and try to live. He has to go through this procedure, and it is very dangerous, but at least he's not killing himself.
Chief Medical Officer's log, supplemental. After further consultation with Starfleet Medical and a great deal of soul-searching, I have reluctantly granted Lieutenant Worf's request to undergo the genetronic procedure.
Nurse Ogawa joins us. Patty Usataki just died a month ago. She was only 70. Worf tells his son they will speak when he wakes up. He asks Counselor Troy to take care of Alexander if something were to go wrong, and she says, yeah, sure, I'd be honored. Bye. So it's surgery time, and it looks like Klingons have rigid spines too, and that's not Michael Dorn. This scene is just to show the passage of time, and they took out his spine. The 3D printer is having some trouble scanning it, and Nurse Ogawa says they have just under 2 hours until Worf goes brain dead. More time passes, and we don't need to watch all of this.
Ready.
Tissue growth proceeding at anticipated rates. No initial signs of rejection.
Of course, that was too easy, so Worf starts to crash. Bev pumps him full of all kinds of stuff. Seriously, it's like one hypospray after another. Ogawa slaps the head defibrillators on him, and they zap him 5 times. But none of this is working.
Death occurred at 1240 hours. It was all going so well. No initial rejection.
Worf is dead for now, and Bev is pissed. And she has to go tell Alexander the bad news. He's a tough little guy and says he wants to see the body, and there it is. This is all very sad, except no one thinks Worf is really dead, even in 1992. Yeah, see, he comes back to life somehow. Bev says his synaptic functions had a backup too, so okay, sure. Bev gives Dr. Russell a speech about how she takes shortcuts and how real research takes time, and she gambles, and this time Worf won, but not all her patients are so lucky, and, you get the gist of this. See, Worf is okay, he just needs a whole lot of physical therapy.
I would appreciate some help from my son. We will work together.
Yes, sir.
I knew pretty early on this was going to be a short script for me because nothing happens. Production notes suggest that Ron Moore had trouble writing this, and I can see why. He was handed a story that's basically Worf breaks his back, and should he kill himself, or, risky medical procedure. Okay, great. What else? Well, no, that's it. This will be very boring with lots of talking, so, have fun with that, Ron. As I mentioned earlier, Worf will find himself in a similar situation with his brother Kurn on Deep Space Nine, but the Heckbot is not looked at something to be respected by that time. This episode of TNG was parodied on the Lower Decks episode I Excretus. Everyone had a valid point from their perspective, and that's interesting. To Worf, his life was over, and death was the next step. Riker couldn't help a friend kill himself, and he had many good reasons for that. Dr. Bev was on the same page, better to live than just give up. And even the very unethical Dr. Russell turned out to be right, though that's not always the case with her. This is by no means one of my favorites, and I skip it on rewatch. To me, it's just very boring, though it's not a bad episode. I'm going to do 3 deltas out of 5 on this one. You can let me know how you feel about that. If you like that video, thank you. Like and subscribe. Make a comment if you want to. There's more Star Trek videos and related content on my website. Check it out at erickelly.com. I'm Eric Kelly. Live long and prosper.